Okay, today we're going to be working with ManageXR and using it to synchronize not only the Scenario VR app, but also all of your content for Scenario VR and also giving you the ability to configure Scenario VR. So let's go ahead and take a look at how we do that. So if we look at our devices, we'll see that we've already configured a device here in ManageXR. We've got a Pico 4 configured, and we need to create content. That's done through configurations in ManageXR. But first we need to set up those pieces and then add them to the configuration. So let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing we're going to do is add in the Scenario VR APK. We get that from the standard place where you can get that APK, which is public.scenariovr.com builds Pico Scenario VR APK or Quest Scenario VR APK or Focus 3 Scenario VR APK. So those are all places you can get that. You then download it. I've already downloaded it, so I don't need to do that again. And you're all set. Now, once you've downloaded it, you select that APK and pull it up, and there it is. And we're going to add a label there. We're going to call it the Pico version because maybe you have multiple types of headsets and you want to label them properly. And we will create the app. Now, once we've created it, it uploads, and that app will be available to add to the configuration. All right, so it's created it, and we're good to go. And now we need to add some files to synchronize. So we're going to add some scenarios that we want to synchronize to the device. So we're going to just do that by clicking on Add Files. And we're going to go through, and I've got those files right here under Scenarios. And I'm just going to pick a few files and my app config. And that's very important. The app config is the file that is the one that it keys on. That's how it knows that that file is there. So I've got those files set up there. And so now I have a few scenarios, my app config, and the app configured. So let's go to our configuration, and we're going to work on that default configuration. First, we add the app, Scenario VR. So that is what we're going to be putting over there. Then we add the files. Now, the key here is that those files need to be in a certain directory, right? So the download directory, right? And then within the download directory, we create a folder called CVR local. All right, and so that is where those files will need to be. So we'll take those files, we'll add them in, and now we've got the directory structure that we need on the device. Once we save those changes, they'll be updated on the device. So let's quickly take a look at that device. So this is that Pico 4. I've got the Pico 4 right here, and if I actually look in the download directory, I had previously created a CVR local, but I don't have anything in there. But we'll see in just a minute, once I save those changes and update that configuration, it automatically updates the device because that device is using that configuration. So if I go over to that device, take a look at that device, I actually bring it in, I have the device connected up. In that few seconds, it already synchronized all of that content over there, including the app.config.json, and that's how we configure what's on there. So the app.config.json is a very small JSON file. It's the file it uses to key on to know if the presence of that file lets the app know that it wants to load things from that directory. And you have a few things you can configure here. First one being local mode. Right now I have that set to true, and that means that it will not require a login. It'll just only use local scenarios that are in that directory. It could also be false, in which case it'll still use files in there. If you have any zip files in there, it'll unzip them and use them, but it will require a login and work in a normal mode. If you do have local mode and you still want to submit results, you can do those through the XAPI configuration. So if you enable that, set that to true, you can give it an endpoint and then a user and password for the LRS. That's sometimes called a key and a secret or a user and a password. And then an email, and that'll be the user's email, and results will get submitted to an LRS, even when you're in a local mode and not requiring a login. You can do that and configure that for each headset individually if you have different configurations and want to specify it that way.